Hello and welcome to the YYC Soccer Podcast. My name is Jason Kmet and my co-host is Scott Strasser. Hey, Scott.
Hey, Jason. How you doing?
Pretty good. This is a bit of a change for us. We're recording a little bit earlier in the week this week.
Yeah, it's Tuesday night. We agreed this week because of an event happening Thursday night. We wouldn't record at our usual time and we would release the episode early, a day early, so that we can preview that event on Thursday. I'm looking forward to talking about it.
Of course, we're talking about the Pumas Cavalry match, and we'll get into that in a little bit. If you are a new listener to our podcast, Scott, what is the YYC Soccer Podcast all about?
We talk about soccer, but we focus specifically on Calgary. So we talk about amateur, collegiate, and professional teams from Calgary. We talk about the players who are from the city, playing either locally or internationally. And we talk about soccer all the way from the grassroots and amateur leagues up to the post-secondary and professional levels.
And this week, our topics will be Cavalry FC, as we kind of already mentioned. Their match in the CONCACAF Champions Cup is coming up on Thursday evening in Victoria, and we'll do a bit of more previewing of that. We'll also talk about the Calgary Wild. They had their first public meeting of the players. You got a chance to see the players and see them interact a bit. And who is our interview with this week, Scott?
We recently talked to Jay Herdman, who is a left winger for Cavalry FC. He joined the team quite late in the 2024 season on loan from Vancouver Whitecaps 2. But he recently signed a permanent deal. So it looks like he's in Calgary to stay. So we talked to him about what it was like to sign a permanent deal with Cavalry. And they had also just gotten back from Southern California, where they were stationed for preseason. So we talked to him about Cavalry's preseason, which, as we talked about last week, was affected by those California wildfires.
Definitely not your standard training camp routine, that's for sure. I think we'll just dive right into it and start getting into Cavalry FC.
Hi, my name is Jay Herdman, and you're listening to the YYC Soccer Podcast.
All right, Jason, it's a huge game for Cavalry FC on Thursday night. They'll be in Langford, BC, hosting Pumas, a team from Mexico's Liga MX. This is going to be a tough one for Cavalry. I was trying to get a good read on Pumas, watching highlights of their recent games on YouTube. They're a fast and technical team. It's going to be a really tough battle for Cavalry on Thursday.
Pumas, I don't think there's any way you can say it any differently. Like, they've got a whole bunch of expensive elite players, and Cavalry's got a really good squad. But realistically speaking, they are probably like on a player by player basis, not quite at this level. So can they compensate on the basis that they've had such a successful run as a team here of late? So it's going to be interesting.
It will be, yeah. What I think, we have last year as a frame of reference, Cavalry took on Orlando City, the MLS team, in the first round of the CONCACAF Champions Cup. And most of that 2-game series was pretty one-sided, especially the first leg. Now, Cavalry went into that one with quite a few new additions to the roster, and they hadn't really had much of a preseason beforehand. They did training, but I don't think they had a lot of matches. So it was one of their first preseason games, which is crazy to think. And they showed much better, actually, when they went down to Orlando in the second leg. And they even scored a goal, right? Meyer Bevan got the goal, although Orlando did enough to see the tie out. When you think about coming into the tournament this year, Cavalry is in a better position in the sense that their roster is almost unchanged from last season. So the chemistry is already there. And it's looking like it's going to be pretty miserable weather-wise on Thursday in Victoria. So in terms of using climate as an advantage, it probably won't feel that much like a home crowd for Cavalry, considering they are so far away from Calgary. But weather-wise, they're going to have a little bit of an advantage over Pumas, who are probably not used to playing in those kinds of conditions.
For sure. And the other thing we don't know yet is, what kind of squad rotation they're going to is going to happen in this match. Like I can easily imagine that some of their top stars, they're not going to fly them up to Canada, trot them out onto artificial turf in these kind of temperatures. It'll be like, let's send some of the players that are trying to prove themselves, and then our big names will stay at home, and then they'll be in the second leg. And so I have a feeling it might be a bit of an experimental side, although that won't really mean much to me because I'm not too familiar with their roster. But
yeah, I'm not familiar with their roster either, though several episodes back when we first found out that Cavalry would be taking on Pumas, I looked up who was on the roster, and there were a lot of players with La Liga experience in Spain, quite a few international players, guys who've been capped for Mexico or I think Peru, a couple other South American countries. I can't say I have watched a match of Pumas, so I don't know the way they play, but there was immediate availability. And Nick Ledgerwood, the Cavalry assistant coach, was asked what kind of team should Cavalry expect. This is what he had to say about it. So I want to share that quote, which I'm pulling from Todd Salehoff's Calgary Herald, Calgary Sun article. So this is Nick Ledgerwood. They definitely have a distinct style of how they like to play. They're not necessarily a possession-based team within Liga MX, but I can see them wanting to be a possession-based team against us. And I wonder if that would go a little against their DNA and how they prep normally. So that's an interesting quote from him. I'm sure he's been watching a lot of game film. I did look up the standings in Liga MX. Their Clausura season just started recently, so they're only 5 matches into the season, but they're doing okay. They're 2 wins, 2 draws, and a loss, which has put them in 7th place in an 18-team division. You know, not the best team in Mexico, but definitely not the worst team in Mexico's top division. And they're also coming off a 3-2 win over Atletico San Luis, which is actually the game that I watched the highlights of just before we started recording. And they look pretty good.
Earlier, actually, at the end of last week on Friday, we had a chance to get the impressions of this upcoming match from Jay Herdman.
Yeah. As mentioned, we talked to Jay Herdman. So I imagine, or I suppose this is a really good time to slot that interview in and hear what he has to say about this upcoming match for Cavalry FC. I'd like to welcome Jay Herdman to the podcast. Jay is a winger for Cavalry FC. He joined the team on loan midway through last season, but is back on a permanent deal now. Jay, welcome to our podcast. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
Now, we know that you guys have been down in California. What has that been like considering the wildfire situation? We heard that the club was put on evacuation notice, and one of the preseason friendlies was canceled as a result. So let's maybe start by talking about that whole situation. That's a very unique way to kick off your preseason training.
I thought we had a really solid preseason. The boys enjoyed it. We were a bit disappointed that the Columbus game didn't go through, but we enjoyed it. It was a bit of a weird time. I don't think any of us really expected to be on alert, having to leave where we're staying. But I think all the staff, the team handled it well, and it's going to be similar to CONCACAF. We're going to have unexpected obstacles in the way, so I think we just got to overcome and adapt, and I think we did. And we had a good camp, and we enjoyed it.
Were you guys so close that you could see it or smell it? I mean, I was kind of surprised when I heard that you put on wildfire notice, considering you weren't close to like Los Angeles.
Exactly. I think most of the fires were in LA, and then when we were in LA, there was no fires, and then we came over to San Diego, and it wasn't too close, but we could see it.
But I just wanted to actually dial it back and go back to last season. So, sorry, can you describe how the process happened, how you're in Vancouver with the Whitecaps and the opportunity comes up to go to Cavalry? Like, how did that all work? Like, did the team approach you, or does someone from, just walk us through the process.
Yeah, it's one day after training, I just got a call from agent saying Calgary's interested. They want to bring you over on loan till the end of the season. And I guess, that's kind of how it happened. And as soon as I heard that, I was interested because we all know Calgary's top team in CPL. And I've always enjoyed watching Calgary and how they play. So for me, I think it was, as soon as I heard they wanted to bring me in, it was a new test for me. I've been I was at Whitecaps for a while, so I wanted something new, test my
So Jay, you joined pretty late in the season in 2024. I wanted to ask what that was like to join up with a team that was almost 2/3 of the way through the regular campaign. Was that kind of a new thing for you?
Yeah, it was my first time pretty much like without a Whitecap shirt on. So yeah, it was something new, different for me, but the guys made it very easy just to join the team. Made it very comfortable for me, and yeah, I think with especially the staff as well, made it super easy. So yeah, I mean, shout out to like the Calvary as all the staff, the players, because I came in and yeah, very easy just to join with the group.
Yeah, and the season ended obviously really quite well, and with winning the title, and then not long after that, you were looking for a new team to play for. So I'm sure you had quite a few different options. So why did coming back to Cavalry? What was the appeal there?
I mean, the winning team, best in the league. So it was kind of a no-brainer for me. And how, like I said before, the lads on the team, it's a great team, great club. So yeah, I think first it was just a winning team with that winning mentality, what I want to have in a team. And then the guys in the team, the staff members, they're just class. So I think coming back here, yeah, it was an easy decision for me, I would say.
What were your impressions of the CPLJ, having played in MLS Next Pro and then all of a sudden being in the CPL? Are they pretty similar in terms of the caliber, or is one notably better? Harder?
No, I mean, I played even before I joined the CPL. In quite a bit of preseasons, I played some CPL teams, so I kind of knew what the level was like. I think the difference between the leagues are, I think the CPL is just more men's football, I would say, especially now with the Next Pro. There's a lot more kids coming through the academy. They're trying to push kids through to the first team. So for me, I'm 20 now, so I think I needed to get away from playing with younger players, I'd say, and coming up to playing with, I'd say, men. I think that's just the real main difference, and probably just everyone's just attitude. I would say everyone just wants to win here, but with the next pro, it's more of a balance between winning and pushing young players through. It's I would just say the winning mentality and just this. I would say there's more experienced and top players.
When you were playing with Cavalry at the end of last season, you were mostly playing on the left side. Is that where you prefer to play? Like, what's sort of the most natural and comfortable position for you, and where you most prefer to be on the pitch?
To be honest, anywhere attacking wise, on the left side. So if it's me playing on the as a 10 in the left, if it's me playing winger, if it's me playing striker on the left, I think for me I'm quite fluent in all positions, but yeah, anywhere on the left for me where I can cut in on my right forward, come down the line on my left. I think that's where I'm most dangerous as a player. And the way we play at Calgary, I've been enjoying playing as winger. Yeah, if they get me the ball and I'm able to go 1v1 at players, and especially with Sergio as well, linking up with him and Toby, as yeah, I've been enjoying it so far.
Yeah, you kind of mentioned it. I've noticed Cavalry has almost always been a team that likes to get its wingers involved. Going back all the way to 2019, Tommy clearly likes to get the ball out on the flanks. So
Mhm.
definitely hearing what you're saying there. We'll transition now to talking about next week's game against Pumas. What is it like to prepare to take on a team like that has a lot of history and plays in such a competitive league?
Yeah, I mean, it's gonna be a tough game. We all know how good Pumas is. I think for us, we just need to come into the game with a clear identity. And I think that's what we've been doing in training and preseason, what we've been building up to. Letting know Pumas that we're here to play. Not always gonna take our foot off the pedal. We're gonna get after them. We're gonna push it, make it a tough game for them. And yeah, well, I mean, we're not aiming for any draws or ties. We're yeah, trying to win at the end of the day. So yeah, I think for us, we just got to be ruthless. And I think how the preseason's been, we've been building up nicely for this game.
And I mean, you got to take on LAFC in preseason, which is a good help. MLS opposition. Olivier Giroud was on that team. I saw the picture.
Yeah.
How does a game like that help with your confidence going into next week?
Yeah, I mean, LAFC is a top team as well. So playing against LAFC gave us a bit of confidence, I think, because we had a good game. I mean, there's a lot of learning opportunities in that game, which I think did us well. So yeah, I think we just need to take from the games we've had in preseason and just apply them to the game against Pumas.
I want to go and talk about another thing you did last year in your career. What was it like playing in the Olympics? That's a bit of a unique experience. Not many footballers get a chance to go. So what was that like?
Yeah, it was a really cool experience, to be honest. Like you said, not many players get to experience it, so I'm lucky enough to be able to say I've been and played. Yeah, it's a really cool moment, especially play against some really top players and teams. I enjoyed it, tested myself against France, US, Guinea. Yeah, there's a lot of top players we played against. I think the team we did as well as we could, and I think just taking those experiences and trying to apply them to this season coming up, because like I said, there's a lot of top players we played against then, and yeah, I think it's gonna help a lot for the season.
We kind of always ask this when we have players on, but looking ahead, I mean, you mentioned you're still only 20 years old. What do you want to achieve in your career, and what maybe on a shorter timeline do you hope to see happen this season? Yeah, let's maybe start with shorter term and then expand to like 10 years from now. What would you like to be doing?
Short term, I think as a team, I think we're gonna push for that. I think we're gonna push for the double, try and go I guess the three-peat, Tommy says. So yeah, I think for us, we have to try and be consistent throughout the year, and how we played in the last 8 games of the season when I came. Hopefully, we can carry that on to the season coming up. Yeah, so I think for us, is seeing how well we can do in CONCACAF. I think Pumas is a great test. It's gonna be a really tough game for us because how good they are. And then we have CanCham coming up. I think we can do very well in CanCham with this team we have. And then obviously we have the league and playoffs, which we won playoffs this year, but didn't win the league, and opposite last year. So I think for us as a team and personally, I think probably top priority is this Pumas game coming up. But then I think us really trying to win some trophies next year.
Mm-hmm. And longer term, maybe what you hope to have done.
Longer term, goal is mine probably for the 2026 World Cup coming up. See, hopefully I can impress enough for the international coach to get a call up. But I think for me, it's just focusing on my time here and hopefully giving myself a chance with my performance, stats, goals, assists, all that to just impress as many people as I can. Tommy, the league. So yeah.
Jay, but thank you so much for coming on the YYC Soccer Podcast. We'll be watching next week and all season long. We're wishing you guys the best of luck.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Thanks again to Jay Herdman for taking the time to do the interview with us. It seems like they've prepared as well as they can at this point, I'd say.
Yeah, they've trained a lot. They did their 2-week training camp in California. They played some good opposition, including LAFC. So hopefully they won't be, pinned back too quickly in the match and on the back foot throughout the 90 minutes.
And there's one more thing that we weren't really expecting even just a couple days ago, but we're going to see a new player dressing for the Cavs this week.
Yeah, and Jason, I don't want to toot our own horn too much, but this is another player that we didn't necessarily predict would sign with Cavalry, but we did talk about the possibility of it. And it's exciting to have kind of predicted another player signing, right? I think we've done that with the Wild. I think we've done it before with Cavalry, but no. So anyway, I should reveal who the player is. Kanija Elva, who grew up in Calgary, played for Southwest United before moving to Germany as a young man to begin his professional career. And he's been in Germany for the best part of the last decade. But as you and I talked about, he was unattached for the start of this season and seemed like he was a free agent, and it made sense for a return home.
Yeah, we've speculated several times on the podcast that we think he's a person that it would make a lot of sense to come back to Cavalry, and with his not signing with the club, it all just started to seem like it was adding up, and here we have it. So it actually is it's happening too, and it's going to be a really interesting, good signing.
Yeah, I'm not sure where his preferred position is, but as we talked about last week, Cavalry is light in the attacking core right now with the departures of Lowell Wright and Malcolm Shaw. So I assume that he'll have an attacking role with the team. This is cool. This is a player whose career I've followed for a long time. As I mentioned, he's from Calgary, played for Southwest United, a few years younger than me, so I don't think I actually ever played against him. No, some of the teams he's played for in Germany over the years would be VfB Stuttgart's reserves. That's who he started his career with. Played like I think 60 plus games for them. Würzburger Kickers, who are, I believe, they kind of float between the third and fourth divisions in Germany. FC Ingolstadt, who are typically a second or third division team, but have played in the Bundesliga. And then Rot-Weiss Erfurt, which is, I think, a little lower down the German soccer totem pole. That's who he was with last. That's the same team that Graham Fisher played for quite a while back. Yeah, once he was no longer with Erfurt, it seemed like, a move back to the city that he grew up was in the cards. And it's one that makes a lot of sense, as we've talked about.
On Wednesday morning, Sergio Camargo and Tommy Wheeldon Jr. Did a press conference from Victoria where they talked about the upcoming match. And we want to insert the audio from that press conference in here. So we'll run that now.
We asked the good people of Langford to help make us feel at home. And that they've done. They've packed the snowbanks, and it does feel like home. It's a terrific side, very well organised. We know that they're going to be a tough opponent, so we have to be at the best we are in the situation we're in. And lads know it. The best thing about having continuity back, a lot of these guys like Sergio have played in this competition before, here before. We know how tough these games really are. So we've got to be mentally prepared. We've got to be tactically prepared. And I think the boys are in a really good mindset to take on the Pumas. Yeah, and also, I mean, he scored the winning goal for us in the final, so he knows what big moments and big goals are about. We've liked the way Jay Herdman's been in pre-season. He's added something. Moosey's always a threat. Toby's always a threat, and to add the strength and depth with Kanija Alba is really important because we're going to need it. We're going to need the starters and we're going to need the finishers. And fortunately, we're going to have some experienced Cavalry players on the bench that can come into the game because I think that's going to be very, very important because it's not just a 90-minute game. It's a 180-minute game, and I think we've got to play it as such.
Yeah, just to echo what Tommy was saying, it's another full year that we had under our belt and coming in with continuity. And I think every game that we play are lessons to be learned, and we have two more lessons than we did last year with the 2 games under our belt against Orlando. So we learned a lot. And not just against them, but again throughout the year last year, we went through our ups and downs throughout our league play, and we turned it around and came out on top. So we're looking to continue on that road and start off strong. Yeah, I've actually played some of my best games in the snow. I don't know what it is. It's kind of just make me play free. So it's a fun environment. It's one that we hope we're more used to than the Mexicans. So we're going to take all the advantage that we can get and start out strong. Yeah, it is a cool thing to get new players into a team. Just that environment of getting to know people, but it does take energy away from other aspects of the team where we can be putting towards. So instead of trying to welcome as many players as you usually welcome in a year, which is let's say five to 10 players, we're using that energy to talk tactics, talk strategy, talk about experiences that we had last year and how we could do better this year. So that's the benefit of having such a huge returning cast from last year. And yeah, hopefully that helps us start off the game and the tie in general strong.
Well, and I think that's the credit to the league and the success we're having. I made a comment that, in the first few years, you tried to get out of season university teams to put a group together to play you. Now we're able to pick up the phone and call LAFC or Columbus Crew and, talk to them about getting a game. And they welcome us with open arms because they respect what's coming out of the league. They respect the games that they're going to get. And it was a great challenge for us. So to go down there and measure ourselves against top LAFC players, Columbus Crew, San Diego State, these guys all give us different challenges in another way. Although we didn't get the Crew game played, unfortunately. But it was good to be in that environment, and I think that's credit to what we're doing as a league.
Well, you know what? There's not much. Both leagues are some of the top leagues in the world. They got athletic players, savvy players, experienced players. Maybe a bit more dark arts, which is what we're preparing for. But to be fair, MLS has that too. So there's not much, which is a great aspect for us because we've had that experience with LAFC, with Orlando, with Vancouver, with Montreal. We've had all these experiences against top teams from around North America, and this is just one more that we'll get under our belt. And if you said 7 years ago that would be playing in Mexico in a competition as prestigious as this, it would be incredible. Couldn't imagine it.
Oh, let's be frank. They're a phenomenal side. We are going to have to punch above our weight to be at our best in a situation that they're 5 games into their season. We're 5 weeks into preseason. So any advantages we can create, the weather is one of them. We saw what Canada and Mexico did in the dubbed Ice Teca. I think we have to have that more favorable because we know when we go to Mexico, it's going to favor Pumas, and that's their home environment. This isn't ours, but it feels like it. And like I said, I think the people of Langford have welcomed us. I think the people here at Pacific have been a great partner for us in these moments. So we're going to use that. You know, it's going to be a nice tight pitch. It's going to be a cold evening, but I think our boys are relishing that, and that will hopefully balance the scales of the game. Listen, I think Gustavo Lima's done a great job with Pumas in particular since he took over last year. You can see he has a clear identity. They're one of the strongest, if not the strongest, defensive teams in Liga MX. So we know they're going to be tough to break down. They're very good in transition with the ball. They've got exciting players. They've got big target men. They've got diminutive dribblers. And like I said, they've got clear identity. So I think for us is not make the game too chaotic. I think the more chaotic it is, the more it favors them. We've got our ideas of how we want to play with the ball. We have our ideas of how we want to be without the ball. And we've got to execute them to the best of our ability because I've really enjoyed the studying of Pumas over the last several weeks since we got them in the tie and since the Clausura kicked off. So I think we've got to be ready for the intensity that's going to come and just kind of enjoy it. Yeah, the only one we're probably just protecting off the top of our head is Mael Henry. Chan and Chanda, one of our young strikers, took a knock in training and didn't travel. But Mael Henry won't be in the 20 named for tomorrow's game.
I'm a huge advocate of sport, and I think any time and any place where we can come together and compete in a fair environment and put aside our differences to compete over something as trivial at the end of the day as sport. That's what I've grown up loving to do. So another opportunity to do that in a place that I've never played before, that's a huge honor for me.
And listen, for us is we always want to put on a show, and I think we're going into year 7 of our Canadian Premier League. So if there's a chance that we can give something to be proud of and punch above our weights to play against a story team like Pumas, I think that's our obligation to raise the country. I think we've done it in the past before. I think we're the first CPL side to have knocked out MLS side over 2 legs. I think we've found a way to win games that we haven't necessarily been favoured. This is just another new challenge for us. I said this goes without any disrespect to Pumas. They're a fantastic side. But we're in a cup competition, and a cup competition when there's environmental conditions, where there's traveling for them, we've got to be able to make it as cagey as possible and bring the game down to where we're at versus trying to play the game at where they're at.
This is Lydia Bedford, and you're listening to the YYC Soccer Podcast.
All right, Jason, segue into talking about the Calgary Wild. You were able to make it out on Monday morning to Winsport, where the Wild players were getting their preseason underway.
It was basically a media opportunity. All the players came out and they did some stretching and a couple little group exercises there. And then they took a couple of players and did a little bit of example of the kind of fitness testing that they're going to be doing, and gave the opportunity for, the various media outlets to take photos or video and stuff. I didn't really find all that stuff specifically revealing, but actually the part about it that I was really interested in is watching, and actually even to a point listening to the players basically introduce themselves right by where I was standing. I could, overhear conversations, and it was like, these people have never talked to each other, and they're all just basically getting to know each other. And that, if I put a couple pictures up on social media, and you can kind of see them all kind of huddled around, like it was kind of interesting to watch them sort of get to know each other for really the first time.
Yeah, kind of a first day of school vibe. But I did know that you and Moses from Global News scrummed with head coach Lydia Bedford.
Yeah, we had a chance to chat, and there wasn't too much to talk about except sort of some of the things we've kind of said about their plans for the week and just getting to know each other and stuff. But instead of me trying to describe it, maybe we'll just run the clip now. And yeah, I think most of the questions, I think Moses is asking them.
So I think we're calling this week base camp. It's what I've presented to the players this morning. It's the perfect opportunity for us to just check where everyone is at. Like, we're managing quite a lot of difference between this group of players. Some that are coming straight off of a games program, some that have, had a little bit of time away from training before they've come into this environment. So this week, with the help of CSI, it's about just trying to find out where everyone's at as an individual, and making sure that with that data, we support them what we do with training over the next 10 weeks to lead into the first game of the season. So we're going to take things slowly. Like, it's a walk, not a race. And the aim is that we keep everyone fit and healthy so that they're ready to compete for the first game of the season.
From a manager's perspective, what you've seen, obviously the results may not all be there, but are you encouraged to kind of see the group come together?
Yeah, I mean, it's super exciting this morning. Like, we were up in one of the meeting rooms, and just to look around the table and just, pinch ourselves and go, like, we're finally here. They're in their kit. We're ready to go. And yeah, I mean, like, these women have been unbelievably brave. Like, this is a first. It's the inaugural season. A number of them signed up to play for this club before even I was announced. And they did that based on a connection with the people that are running this program. And that's just such an impressive thing. Like, they're the first, and no one will ever take that away from them.
There's some chunky players themselves, because again, this is the first time you have to see them as a collective. A few are still coming in, but nevertheless, a chance to see them and talk to them as a group.
So I think there was two things this morning when I introduced Base Camp. I spoke about connection first and foremost. And so for them as a team, it's what's happening to my right now. It's them actually having the chance to really learn about each other's journeys. And connection for me is about physical touch, like actually greeting each other every morning, looking each other in the eye, because if we can create that connection as a team, that makes us unbreakable on the pitch. So having time to connect this week is really important, and that will just develop as we spend more time together in pre-season. And then the second thing was about that readiness for the start of the season. So my message to them was, everyone's different, and actually how I manage one player over the next 10 weeks might be completely different to how I need to manage someone else. And we'll do the best thing for each individual for the betterment of the team to try and help us. Also spoke about, like I said, it not being a race. Like, my message to them was, be kind to yourselves. I flew into the country on Thursday. I drove around this weekend picking up an armchair and a TV and a TV unit, and I'm not the only one. So, like, people have given up, they've moved away from home, they're not with their families, and they need time to settle in. So they've got like a schedule set out by CSI this week. But outside of that, I've said to them, look, enjoy experiencing the city, and let's take this week slowly and just enjoy the fact that we're together for the first time.
Does the training remind you of maybe the times you've gone through physical testing before, and how grueling or how enjoyable it could be, if that makes sense?
I think what's nice is that the testing they're doing here is to find out where they're at. Like, we're not putting them through any testing right now that would really push them physically. Like, they're not running the leaf test or the yo-yo or anything like that in the next week. Because of that individual difference and not knowing where everyone is, we're going to delay that for a few weeks. So they actually just get to enjoy being on a ball next week and starting to do the thing they love. And then once we've got them in and we know where they're at, and I'll work really closely with our S&C coach to do that, then we might start to chuck some of those testing. But I think with things like that, like, you just have to embrace it. Like, they know that. It's a part of us finding out where they are at and celebrating how much they improve in pre-season. So it should never be feared. It's just about finding out where they are in this moment in time.
What's the dynamic like, kind of working with a team from scratch rather than coming into an existing team? Everyone's on a level playing, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. It's my first comment. Like, Alex and I have joked this weekend, like, we should never have to recruit 25 players in one go ever again. And as a coach, there's not many times in my life where I'm going to end up inheriting a completely brand new group of players, which I suppose is one of the things that excited me to come in and test myself in doing. But to your point, it makes it a level playing field. Like whenever you recruit, you have an intention over where you think players might sit and fit within that. But what's so exciting is that that's on there. And I haven't really gone to that conversation with them yet. That'll be a conversation for next week. But like as we develop through preseason, it's a level playing field. And for them, it's a chance and an opportunity to show us what they're capable of doing. And come the first game of the season, I'll pick the team that we feel is right to compete in that game. And that could be affected by a whole ton of things between now and then. But I think as long as they stick together as a group, I've asked them this morning to challenge each other and support each other. And hopefully we'll celebrate whoever the first group of players are to represent us when we start the season.
It seems like it's going to be a pretty low-key first week. Everybody kind of getting to know each other, doing a little bit of testing. My understanding is they're going to hit the pitch next week.
Yeah, they're really not rushing it. But if you think about it, it's a 10-week preseason until their first game. So there really is no reason to rush. So I guess it's kind of an icebreaker week. Sounds like they didn't really do anything too strenuous at this point. There was no beep test or anything like that. I was kind of hoping there would be, and we could see who is coming into preseason with the best cardiovascular fitness. But I guess we'll have to wait to see that.
I thought maybe be able to catch a glimpse of some new players or even some trialists. But the only players that were at this event were the players that we already know as being announced. So even though we've started training camp or whatever we want to call this week, sort of introductions week or whatever, there haven't been any new signings announced as of yet. So I think we're still at this 14, 15 player number.
Yeah, although I do think that up until now, Thursday has been the most common day for the Wild to announce player signings. We did get a press release from the club today, or yesterday, I guess, but it didn't have to do with any new players. That was to do with the team partnering with Canadian Sport Institute Alberta, which is going to provide support services for players. So that was the press release that we got most recently, but I wouldn't be too surprised if another player is announced this Thursday, though I don't know if that's going to or not. I'm just speculating.
And one other bit of info, Michaela Moore has been called up to the New Zealand women's national team. They're playing a couple matches at the end of February in Costa Rica. So she'll be away from camp for, I don't know, a week or so, I would guess. One thing I noticed, Ali Green, who's also on the New Zealand women's team, she was not called up.
Hi, this is Aislinn Phillips, and this is the YYC Soccer Podcast.
All right, Jason, just before we wrap up this week's episode, I noticed that you learned and added to our list of topics to talk about. There's a U Sports Winter Tournament happening this weekend involving the U of C Dinos.
Yeah, the Dinos are playing a couple matches. They're playing on Thursday. I think it's Thursday afternoon at 1:15. They're playing Trinity Western. And on Friday at 10:30 in the morning, they're playing Thompson Rivers. So they're trying to put together some matches during the winter time. I know that the teams that are on the West Coast, the Vancouver teams and, even Victoria and that sort of thing, they have the opportunity to play a lot of matches in the winter when it's really cold here, as like we're experiencing right now. This is kind of a way for the teams to play some matches and hopefully from their point of view, mitigate that advantage that the West Coast teams have.
Yeah, I was thinking about this and it harkened back to me an interview we did quite a long time ago, like in the first couple months of our podcast with Tino Fusco from Mount Royal Cougars, who talked about, how it would be great, I think, to have like a winter league for U Sports or Canada West in the future. That's something that he brought up and how it would be really helpful if the Alberta teams could play more 11v11 games in the winter, just like you said, to better compete with the BC conference teams that are able to play in leagues throughout. Yeah, the off season has always been too long in Canada West, and of course we have League One Alberta now, which fills the gap in the spring and summer. But that's not exactly the university team, right? There's often a lot of carryover from a university team into League One, but not quite the same.
Thank you for listening to the YYC Soccer Podcast. You can have this podcast downloaded to your device as soon as it becomes available. by subscribing on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or other platforms. Check out our website at yycsoccer.com, where you can look through our episode archive and find other options to listen, including our YouTube channel. We also have links on our website that will point you in the direction to buy Scott's book about Calgary soccer history. You can leave us a question or comment in the Contact Us section of our website. You can also interact with us on social media, such as X or Instagram or Blue Sky, where our username is YYC Soccer 403. Thanks for listening.